know that it has been a while since I've done an update video, so I wanted to do that today, and I wanted to share about our most recent loss that happened the week before Christmas. I found out that I was pregnant the beginning of November, and I did record a lot of things on my phone and pictures and stuff like that. But I won't be sharing those due to the loss. But I do still have those on my phone to keep for my own memories. And so I'm going to talk about our loss, but I'm going to do it in a different way, because I know that sometimes I can ramble on and on and on, and I don't want to do that. And I do say a lot, and there's, you know, spaces of like free space. So I put everything into a note into my phone. So I'm just gonna read from that, and I'll probably insert a few things here and there as I read, but that's about it. So I found out that like I said, I found out that I was pregnant the beginning of November, and I did not have my first appointment until the Monday after Thanksgiving, which was November 29th. And then we had to go back a week and a half later, and we had our first ultrasound. I was not measuring where I should be for how far along I was, and so I needed to do a follow-up. So that's what happened. The week before Christmas, the Friday before Christmas, is when we found out that we had lost another baby. So here we go. I wasn't prepared for one pregnancy loss, and I definitely wasn't prepared for a second one. I'm so sorry, Lacey. Unfortunately, it looks like the baby is measuring smaller than it did last week, and I'm not seeing a heartbeat. Those are the words I heard at a follow-up ultrasound just a week after my first one. At the first one, I was 8 weeks along based on my last menstrual cycle, but I was measuring 5 weeks and 5 days. My doctor wanted to do a follow-up ultrasound a week later to see if my baby had grown and if we could detect a heartbeat. But he and the ultrasound tech seemed very hopeful about this pregnancy. I was hopeful as well, but I had feelings in my gut that something was wrong. For a whole week, I looked up things regarding back-to-back miscarriages. I checked my symptoms every day, and there was up and down moments for the nausea, tender breasts, very mild cramping, and mood swings. But I was reassured everything looked good based upon my blood work and the first ultrasound. And in the end, my gut was right. It didn't matter that all 30 plus pregnancy tests I took from November 8th, when I had a super faint line, to December 17th at my second ultrasound were positive. It didn't matter that I took my prenatal omega-3 and calcium vitamins every day, even before I got pregnant. It didn't matter that I reduced my caffeine use and drank more water. It didn't matter that I was eating healthier so my child would have actual nutrients instead of Chick-fil-A pizza and tacos all the time. It didn't matter that I stayed as stress-free as possible. It didn't matter that I thought positive, happy thoughts about this pregnancy. My baby, my rainbow baby, that I begged God from the very beginning to keep so I could hold a newborn in July or August, was gone. It didn't grow, it didn't have a heartbeat, and I was heartbroken for the second time in 1 year, in an 8-month span. One day after our March baby's due date, which I was hoping in some strange way would bring us luck, I was laying in my doctor's office again, being told I'm sorry. And luckily this time I wasn't alone. Matt was able to go to this appointment, as well as the one the week before. He held my hand through it all. He stood there as we were told the news, and all I could do was squeeze his hand. After the ultrasound, the doctor and the nurse left the room, and Matt just held me. I wasn't crying at that point. I teared up, but they weren't flowing yet. My doctor came back in and discussed my options, just as he did the last time. Let nature take its course, take pills to move the miscarriage along, or have another D&C. I knew I couldn't afford another surgery, even with insurance, because I'm still paying for the last one, so that was immediately out. I knew, based on what some friends have experienced taking the pills, that it would be extremely painful. So I knew that I couldn't handle this right at Christmas with so much to do that I really did not want to miss out on. The natural route seemed the easiest to me, but I didn't have to give my answer right then. I sat there with my doctor and my husband holding me and cried for a moment. Matt and I asked questions about where do we go from here now that I've had 2 miscarriages in a row. My doctor said typically and clinically they do not do further blood work or further testing or scans until someone has had 3 miscarriages in a row. However, if I wanted to proceed with that after this miscarriage ran its course, he would be more than happy to do that for me. We both told him that we would like that. 2 in a row in the same year screams there's something wrong to me. Side note, there are times that I feel Matt doesn't hear me when I talk about our process or what's going on. Not that he doesn't care, that's not the case, but that he's not like me and doesn't research every little thing or what tests are or what hormones are produced in my body or whatever it may be. But I mentioned a few things to him before our appointment, and during our time of asking questions, Matt was actually the one asking about things that I had forgotten about or weren't on my mind at that moment. I say it all the time, but I am truly blessed to have him as my husband, and throughout all of this, he has been my rock and my calm place. My doctor told us to take our time in leaving, and he would wait to hear from me on which route we wanted to take this time. After he left the room, Matt kissed me, told me he loved me, and he held me. That's when I began crying. In that moment, I said, I'll be okay. It's going to happen for us, but right now I'm angry. And I don't like being mad at God, but I am. And that was the truth. I was angry that this has happened again. I was struggling. Not with my faith, let me say that. I have faith in God, but just what the purpose of our suffering in this is. Why, God? Why give us another baby and then take it away too? Did I not suffer enough the first time? Am I not worthy of being a mother? Have I done something that would unqualify me of that title? Am I not fit? Are we being punished for something we don't know about? Why did this have to happen again? Why can't we have a baby like so many others? For weeks, ever since I found out, I begged and cried and prayed and prayed and prayed for my baby's protection, growth, and development. I prayed to keep that baby. I prayed to give birth in July or August and hold my sweet baby that I longed for so much. I prayed to be able to see my husband as a father. I prayed for the opportunity to be a mother. I thanked God for giving me another opportunity to become pregnant. After we left the doctor's office, I did have cramping. I took Matt home and went on to work. I had to. I couldn't stay at home and cry all day. It did no good, and I needed to not think about it. The work day went by smoothly, and my sweet coworkers that knew hugged me and consoled me. I came home, ate my pizza, worked on our Christmas cards while watching my trash TV on Prime, which was The Girls Next Door. I loved that show back in the early 2000s, so please don't judge me. Later that night, I began spotting, so I knew the process had started. I spoke to a friend who unfortunately has also had multiple miscarriages, and she told me what to expect. The next day, I had to photograph a wedding, and we were celebrating Christmas for my sister and her wife who were in from out of state. They were only going to be home for a few days, so we were having Christmas a little early for them. I woke up the next morning, that Saturday, with light bleeding, and I cleaned the dining room for dinner. I cleaned off the table, vacuumed, and dusted. I played Christian music, and I cried a couple of times. And I have to give a huge thank you to Nanny for letting me cry. I don't know for sure if she heard me or not. The multiple times I broke down. But if she did, she never said anything. She just let me cry. My sister then went with me to Walmart to grab a few things, and then I came home to get ready for the wedding. While in the shower, I cried again, just getting it all out. After I got ready, I went and photographed my friend's wedding, during which during which I headed to the bathroom multiple times to check myself. I left the wedding and came straight home to make it just in time for Christmas present and gingerbread house making. I was faking it till I made it. My family knew because I had told them we were pregnant and then had to tell them that we weren't. But I was thankful no one said anything when I got home, and we had a wonderful time. The next morning, I woke up, got ready, and Matt and I went to our church for the Christmas service. I also had a wedding to attend that day, so after church, I came home, edited some photos, and got ready for that. And y'all, I will tell you, I loved my dress, okay? It was gorgeous. Anyway, me and Nanny went to the wedding, and we had a great time. Matt had to work, so Nanny was my date, which she's the best date I could ever ask for. The whole time at the wedding, I was running back and forth to the bathroom to check myself, and I was cramping really bad, but it wasn't horrible. Some of my friends that knew that I was miscarrying at that time, they have said that I was brave for going and doing things, or that you wouldn't know from the pictures that I was actively miscarrying and bleeding, but I was. That weekend, though, I had tons of things to do. I didn't stop, and that truly helped me. I stayed busy, and I didn't have time to think about the what-ifs or drown in my sorrow. I cried, of course, but I was busy, and I wanted to be present for my family and for my friends that got married. I didn't want to miss those moments, and I'm glad that I didn't. Monday and Tuesday began the worst of it. I went to work that Monday and had an okay day. It was a normal day other than the pain I had. I also didn't sleep well Monday night. I kept waking up in pain. Tuesday brought more pain. I wanted to crawl in fetal position and lie there all day. Tuesday also brought on clotting. I kept running to the bathroom during the workday, and once I got home, I basically lived in the bathroom. Right before bed, around 11, I passed a big clot. I didn't see anything. I didn't notice any tissue. It really was just a clot of blood. I had taken some of the Percocet my doctor prescribed me in May after my D&C that I never used because I just took Tylenol at that time because I didn't need anything stronger, around 9 o'clock, and that did nothing for me. I kept waiting for it to kick in, and it never did. But I couldn't take Tylenol until hours later, and I wanted to sleep. I had another restless night that night on Tuesday. I kept waking up to pain in my lower abdomen, and I would just rock back and forth until I fell asleep again. Wednesday morning, I woke up and I had the worst pain of the whole week. Every time I moved, it hurt. If I shifted my weight, it hurt. If I walked, it hurt. I was just in pain. You might ask yourself, Lacey, why didn't you just take something? Well, one, I'm a person that can handle pain. I always have been. And two, yes, I'm in pain pretty bad, but I don't want to take something just to take something. I wanted to see if I could take it, which I know sounds really stupid to some people. I don't know if it does. It might not to you. But there's a part of me that wanted to know what that pain felt like. Because I didn't go through that the first time. Because I had the D&C. So I was asleep for all of the surgery, obviously. And I never had to do anything naturally. So I wanted to, I don't know, I just wanted to feel all of it. That sounds so strange. But if I was losing my baby, I wanted to feel it. That sounds so stupid when I say it out loud. However, on Wednesday, I was taking Tylenol every 4 to 6 hours because I had to go to work and I was in a lot of pain. And so I finally was like, okay, you got to take something. Thursday wasn't any better when it came to pain and bleeding. I passed more clots those days and spent most of the day in pain even with the Tylenol. But I had things to do and I wasn't missing a moment of Christmas with any of my family. Friday was Christmas Eve and we were headed to my daddy's side of the family. I got up early and started cooking. Shortly before we left, as Matt was getting ready, I got a notification on my MyChart that I had a new test result, which I thought was odd because I didn't give any blood at that appointment the Friday before. So I opened my app and saw it said progesterone test result. I opened it and saw my results. The collection date was November 29th, which was my first intake appointment where they draw the blood, they do the pregnancy test, and then you speak to the intake nurse. On November 4th, when I went for my 21-day progesterone blood test, which is something I normally did every single month because I was taking the letrozole, my progesterone was 19.4. And from the test result, or from the blood draw on November 29th, my letrozole had dropped to 6.8, which is too low to maintain a pregnancy. I know that I've talked about it before, and I can explain it again for anyone who, needs it explained. But the progesterone is a hormone that is released to help get you pregnant, because it helps determine if you've ovulated or not, and also to help keep a pregnancy until you get to a certain point in your pregnancy when the placenta takes over, which I've read different time periods, but it looks like to me it's anywhere from 10 to 13 weeks is when your placenta will take over. When I saw that result, I stared at it for a second because I was like, okay, it went from 19.4 down to 6.8 in just 3 weeks span of time. So obviously I told Matt, and in my mind that meant that that was the reason that we lost the baby, because my progesterone had dropped so much that was most likely the reason that we had lost the baby. I didn't know that my doctor was going to run this test, but after our second ultrasound, I did email my doctor and told him that I wanted to go the natural route this time, which I really didn't have a choice because by that night I started bleeding. So even if I wanted to have another surgery or take the pills, it wasn't going to be an option because my body had already started the process. When I emailed him after our appointment, I also asked him if progesterone would have made a difference for next time. Like, do I need to take progesterone when I have my next pregnancy, because progesterone was my issue with getting pregnant, because I didn't ovulate. And so because I didn't ovulate, then my progesterone wasn't where it should have been to get pregnant, or obviously to keep a pregnancy. So I did ask him that question, and I didn't hear from him, but I did have a follow-up on January 5th for an ultrasound to make sure that all of the pregnancy tissue was gone, and to meet with my doctor to talk about things. And then our Christmas was a good one, and we enjoyed time with our families. Friday was spent with my daddy and his family, and Saturday was spent with Matt's family and my mom's side of the family. And we had a lot of laughs, and just it went really well. I didn't have any pain after Saturday, which was Christmas Day, and the bleeding had stopped by Monday. It kind of like trickled. Monday and Tuesday it was more like spotting, like a regular period. So in all, my bleeding lasted from Friday the 17th until that the Monday after Christmas, which was December 27th, which was 10 days. So that's what happened. That's where I stopped typing. All in all, the natural miscarriage experience, I don't know how to describe it, how to explain it, because I do have a high pain tolerance, and the only thing I really needed to take was Tylenol. There were times that the Tylenol didn't work and I was in pain for the majority of the day, but I did not want to take anything else stronger. I didn't want to ask for anything else stronger. I probably could have. I really don't know because I didn't try. But like I said, I did have the Percocet from when my doctor did my DNC, which I never took. He prescribed me like 8 or 10 pills. I still had every single one of those, and so I took, because I don't usually take pain medication, so I took a half of a Percocet on that Monday or Tuesday, whatever day it was. I think it was that Monday. I took half of one that night before I went to bed, because I was like, okay, well, I'm going to bed, so it's not gonna, if anything happens, then, if it makes me crazy or whatever, then I'm gonna be asleep, so it doesn't matter. And then so that obviously didn't work because I kept waking up Monday night with pain. And then on Tuesday I took a whole one. And these pills are tiny. I mean, if you've ever seen them, you know. But that didn't do anything either. But so I took Tylenol on Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday, it didn't help. Thursday it helped a little bit just because I didn't have a whole lot of pain, but it was still there and I needed to work and it was just gnawing at me. But then by the following Monday, Tuesday, or honestly Saturday at Christmas, on Christmas, I was totally fine with the pain. I was still bleeding, but I didn't have any pain. And then Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, it was kind of just like the bleeding kind of trickled down and I didn't have any pain. And then I had my follow-up with my doctor on January 5th, and the lady did my ultrasound. She was actually the lady who did my ultrasound the first time in May when we lost Dumplin'. And she was so wonderful, and she remembered me and she was talking to me about it, and she was super, super sweet. We had a great conversation while she was checking me, and she said, everything looks good as far as I can see. Obviously, I want him to check it, but she was great. And so then I met with my doctor. We did come up with a plan for next time. So today is January 26th. And so I am still waiting for my cycle to start. I'm still waiting for my period. So what's going to happen from here on out, I'm going to continue the letrozole because it has worked for us. When we got pregnant the first time, I had taken it for November, December, January, February, March, 5 months. And then the last time I took it, July, August, September, October, 4 months. So it has worked. It does take a little bit to work, but it has worked for us to be able to get pregnant. But I'm so, so thankful that we can even get pregnant, and that does make me happy. So after I keep doing this and we get pregnant again, as soon as I know that I'm pregnant, and I found out very, very, very early this last time because I went for my 21-day progesterone blood test on November the 4th, which was like my regularly scheduled monthly test that I have to take 21 days after my cycle starts. So I had done that. So that was day 21. And then I found out that I was pregnant 4 days later. So that was day 25. And that's very early. And I had a very, very, very faint line. And I remember sending it to my best friend. And I was like, do you see this? And she was like, yeah, I see it. I kind of see it. And so, and some ladies at work. So it was, I found out very early. But I waited when I found out on the 8th, I did wait a couple of days to take another pregnancy test to see if it darkened, which it did. And that was on a Wednesday. And then I took another one that Thursday, and I actually took 2 that Thursday morning. So after I took those 2, and I definitely had a positive, like you could see the line, not like strong, but you could see that it was there. I did call and make my appointment for the doctor for my intake appointment. So I knew 25 to 28, 29 days that I was pregnant. So that's very early. Because at that point I would have been 4 weeks. And so what we're going to do now, what me and my doctor have talked about, what we're going to do is as soon as I know that I am pregnant, I am to call that day. And I usually take my test in the morning like the instructions tell you to. I'm going to call my doctor that day, and they are going to do an HCG test, which tests the hormone in your body that tells you that you're pregnant. I can't pronounce it. I'm very sorry. I know that I probably could if I tried, but I just don't. It's HCG. It's the hormone that tells you that you're pregnant. And so they're going to do an HCG test, and they're going to do a progesterone blood test. even if I've just had one. So the next time that I find out that I'm pregnant, that I know that I'm pregnant, I have a positive test at home, I'm to call them and say, hey, I need to come in today, if possible, or tomorrow for an HCG test and a progesterone blood test. And then 2 days later, they want to do another HCG test. So, because he wants to make sure that my HCG is doubling like it should, and see what my progesterone was from my 21-day progesterone blood test to that point in time. That's our plan, and I would assume, I did not ask him this question, which I probably should have, if my progesterone has dropped within that time period, however long that time period is from my 21-day progesterone test to when I call and say, hey, I'm pregnant, and I have my blood test done for that, then I would assume that he's going to give me progesterone supplements or the suppositories. I would assume that's what's going to happen. But I don't know. Like I said, I didn't ask. Probably should have, but I didn't. So this is just one more step, and I have a very strong feeling that doing these things, making sure that my HCG is doubling, seeing what my progesterone is at that point when I'm pregnant again, possibly taking the progesterone supplements, I think that will really help us and help us have our baby. This process, this second time, has been easier on me, mentally and emotionally. I will say, I know I cried during this video, but it really has been easier because I knew what to expect this time. Experiencing it naturally was different, obviously, because the last time I just had surgery, I was asleep for everything. I was so scared this time that I would look down, that I would see something I didn't want to see, which I didn't, thank God. So that was scary for me. But as a whole, it was not as bad of an experience physically as I thought it was going to be. I thought that it was going to be a lot worse. Yes, I did have a lot of pain, but I thought the pain would be a lot more. I don't know why I thought that. I just thought it would be a lot of excruciating pain. I thought that, like I said again, that I would see something that I didn't want to see, and I didn't. And this time was, I don't want to say easier, because I don't feel like these situations are easy. But it was easier for me to cope with it, because after the first one, I did speak to my therapist, and we talked about a lot of things that I won't share, but I felt like this time was just easier mentally and emotionally on me. And I think I shared with Matt, like, both of our babies are so important. I don't want it to be like construed as, oh, well, she was so distraught the first time and not the second time. It's not that. It was just a matter of preparedness for me. And I don't know if anybody else has felt that way, if you've gone through multiple miscarriages. I do know there are some who go through a really, really, really hard time every single time. I just felt like this one was easier for me to cope with, because I knew what to expect. And also because I know people say you really never know, but I did. I had an inkling. I don't know, this just gut feeling, like I said in my long text thing, that my gut was right, and I knew that something was wrong. I knew that something was not okay. I just didn't know what. And so when we went for the first one, and they told me that I wasn't measuring as far along as I should be based on my last menstrual cycle, when I knew like how far along I was, I knew then. I feel like I knew then. And then I started to prepare myself. When he said, I want to do a follow-up, and I was like, that's fine, that's great, hopefully the baby will grow. There was a part of me that just knew, and I think I started to prepare myself then. And I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have. I know there are people out there that's like, no, you should have thought positive. No, you should have done this. I can tell you, thinking positive thoughts does not change whether your baby lives or dies in your belly. It just doesn't. But I knew in my mind that there was something wrong. And again, I'm rambling. I do that when I start these videos, and I'm so sorry. And I even planned to not do that, and I do it anyway. So that is our plan. And we are just going to see what happens again. We're just going to keep, going on this railroad track and moving forward and holding tight to each other, me and Matt, and holding tight to God, because we know that it'll happen. However it happens, however we get our child, is how we get our child. And whether that does require more testing. Oh, that's another thing. Sorry. Right now I'm not going to do further testing or blood work or scans or anything like that, because when I went for my follow-up, I did talk to my doctor, and we're just going to keep trying, see what happens with the HCG and the progesterone and go from there. And I forgot to add that, so sorry. But that's our plan, and I hope that you guys, will continue to show the love that you always do, and I know that you will, because you love us. And I don't know if me sharing any of this helps anybody, but it does help me. It helps me get it out, and I do like giving you guys updates because, again, this is not something that people talk about a lot. And if you do, you talk about it with your close friends and your close family. But there's so many of us that struggle to get pregnant and have pregnancy loss. And it's still so very, don't talk about that. Like, that makes me uncomfortable. Okay, well, it makes us uncomfortable too, going through it. So, I know that was rude, but y'all know that I want to be honest and I want to be transparent with you guys. So that's a naked truth. If you've read It Ends With Us. But I thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you watching if you watch, and we will give you an update soon. And I love you.